All right, Mr. David, very much up there first.
Like I say, welcome.
Well, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and then we'll just go ahead and segue into that. So, meeting is at order. There we go. And all that official stuff.
You're not a tomato man.
No, I'm not.
I don't like tomatoes either.
I'll eat cooked, but I don't like.
I don't like them at all.
Do you want to do the whole thing, the whole glorious thing, or should I open it up?
Go ahead, you're the communications chair, do your thing.
Communicate.
Hey, everybody. Kevin O'Neill, Communications Chair, Libertarian Party, Hillsborough County. We have our general membership meeting here, and of course we have a history of having presenters speak to us. And tonight we have David Gornoski. He is historically had some work published on World Net Daily. He's been a scholarly author of various press creations, journalism, I guess we'll call it. And he's also been a study of Girard, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, a philosopher who has spent a lot of his career. He recently passed away, by the way, so our regards to his family. He did a lot of work on manipulations that have been arrayed against us as a human race through the centuries, and he's did a lot of historical comparatives on this. That is what David's going to be speaking about. We have a couple other guests from the community, but we're going to start out with David, our primary speaker, and then we're going to roll into our general membership meeting, some formalities, but you can get a good feel for what's happening in the Tampa Bay area, and stick around after David's talk as well. So anyways, guys, thanks for joining us on YouTube. Invite your friends to join in as well, and again, Kevin O'Neill signing off, and I'll welcome David here. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Let's give a hand to David.
Thanks for having me, and I'm happy. I'm very delighted that there's a lot of interest wherever I mention mimetic theory and the work of René Girard. I'm excited that more and more people from various backgrounds are taking an interest in his work, because I think it's very timely, it's very necessary for the liberty movement to engage some of the work in the conversations that are going around René Girard. He recently passed away in November, and he's a French scholar. He worked in anthropology, worked in social sciences. He was a literary critic at first. He studied the great novels, the great works of literature. So his work kind of crosses over a lot of different sectors of thought. One area that I think needs to have more attention to is the implications for his work when it comes to politics. And there's a lot. I encourage you all to check out René Girard, look up in mimetic theory, and I think you'll be surprised at how much crossover, how much synergy there is between what libertarians and those in the liberty movement are trying to accomplish and what he was coming at from an anthropological or sociological standpoint. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about anthropology. So the question is, what does it mean to be human? What makes us human? What makes us human? I think that's a question we really need to have laid down more solidly than we typically do, because if we don't know what makes us human, then we kind of start out from an abstract concept of, we get into, well, I'm just an adult, and then there's, I just make rational decisions, and therefore I'm just basically a walking brain on a stick, and I decide my ideology, and I input it, and know exactly what I think, and then other people have different ideologies, and I have to persuade them using better propositions and better argumentations than they do, and then we just, that's basically Enlightenment thinking. It's not really taking a robust, to-date understanding of what does it mean to be human. So that's the question that René Girard was looking at, and that's what mimetic theory is about.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys a question. Have any of you ever been driving around at night and you see a cop car, coming behind you, and you see the sirens, the lights come on?
Yeah.
There's it's going to get me, right? And then he passes into the left lane and he goes on, right? What is the feeling you feel when he does that?
Relief.
Relief. Despite how much ideology you may have about, I don't like the police state, I want all this reform, I don't like the way they're doing this or that. If you're honest with yourself, if you're like me, I feel actually a sense of catharsis, like I've watched Lion King and Simba's taken the throne, he's won. I feel kind of like, yeah, I'm a good guy. He's going after the bad guys. It's not me. I feel like, well, I kind of thought maybe I was in the hot spot, but I'm not. Somebody else he's going after them. So you share in a feeling of, it's okay, that thin blue line is drawing a line and it's not around me. I'm not the target. It's going after somebody else. And there's a sense of transcendence. There's a sense of, I know this, maybe I'm overblowing this, but I think when I feel that, oh, they're coming after me. What did I do? What's going on? And then they go around, I feel, I'm safe. I'm one of the good guys, and the cop's going to go deal with somebody else that messed up. Well, that's a little taste of a very interesting dynamic called the scapegoat mechanism. If you all are taking notes or want to think, remember that word, scapegoat mechanism, because that lies when you look at the scapegoat mechanism, you'll really see why cultures do the things they do and why governments do the things they do. One of the things that libertarians are often always I've seen this thrown around a lot, is it almost seems like the state, government itself, is kind of like a religion. Have you ever thought of that or heard people talk about that?
Definitely.
It's almost as if, the state is this weird entity in which it provides certain goods and services, supposedly. It provides electricity, and it provides this or that, or utilities, and it provides security. But then it also has a certain reverence. I mean, this flag right here is a very sacred symbol for many, many people. I mean, people they cry, they get goosebumps when people look at this flag, when they say the Pledge of Allegiance. There's a transcendent feeling that people get in ball games when they have this flag and they have the Pledge of Allegiance. So there's something religious about government itself that I don't think we've tapped into enough. And I believe if you look at mimetic theory, you're going to see just why government is a religious organization. So to take us back, we have to go back in time a little bit. We have to go through the origins of human culture. We're going to look at what does it mean to be human. So one of the things that the Enlightenment period, so again, there's a few mistakes that we brought into our time when we dialogue with people. The Enlightenment period, they not only did they make the assumption that national brains on sticks walking around with data to just persuade people about, and that's what motivates us, is just facts. But they didn't take into account the idea that the desires you have, the things that you want, that those things are not necessarily originating in yourself. That, there's this concept of, I like what I like because I like what I like. I am a unique individual, and I'm just a unique little sparkle in the universe, and if anybody could just let me be me, then everything would be fine. Well, what mimetic theory looks at is the idea that all desires are copied desires. We borrow desires from our neighbor. And what that means is, if you've ever seen basically two little kids, you go into a nursery room and you see two little kids, and one kid picks up this little toy, and he's kind of bored with it, but he kind of picks up, totes around, doesn't care about it. And then another little kid sees him with that toy. What does he want to play with? That toy, right? So he's copied the desire of his neighbor, this little boy, and he says, I want that. Now, when he goes to grab the toy, the child who originally had the toy, who was kind of bored with it, now he suddenly desires it because his neighbor desires it. And so he starts to pull away. No, it's my toy. And they start fighting over it, right? Well, the deceit of adults is that we somehow grow out of that. Really, we don't. We still have that same copied concept of what we desire. So if everybody could have $1 million, would anybody really want $1 million? If everybody could have the best BMW or Mercedes or whatever your favorite car is, if everybody had that just by default, would you really care? If everybody was entitled to a 4-story house with the most immaculate yard you could ever ask for, would you really desire it anymore? We desire acclimating and accumulating the things that our neighbors desire. And that's, there's different words for that, they can be envy or covetousness. It's the idea that human beings are the species that desires but doesn't know what to desire. So we look at our neighbor and say, hey, there's something about what that guy has that's just that intangible it. And if I could just have that it, I would be more complete and I'd be more satisfied and more content with who I am. Well, the problem is that when you desire what your neighbor desires, they start to desire it more because we imitate each other. We mimic each other. We copy each other. And so that leads to rivalry. And you can see this all the time. I remember growing up in high school, you'd see a lot. I remember in the cafeteria, you'd have government schools, they put you in this little pen, they give you 15 minutes to eat or whatever. And you'd see some, there's usually a girl involved. One guy likes the girl that the other guy has staked out as that's his girl. And before you know it, it's escalated into this brawl, right? Where they're fighting and the girl almost doesn't even matter anymore. They just are so obsessed with, okay, you struck me, I got to strike you. You threw a chair, now there's another chair coming. And then before you know it, it's like a contagious rivalry. Everybody's involved. They're all throwing chairs and hitting each other and kicking. It's chaos, right? So we see this all the time. So human beings, for example, let me give you another example. In the animal kingdom, there is some copying that takes place. But humans are the masters of imitation. That's why we are so much more superior in how we relate. But, animals, they have imitation. So the wolf growls, and the rival wolf growls, and there's a show. And then at some point, when the alpha males battle for who's going to be leader of the pack, the wolf who loses will relinquish and he'll give his throat. He'll say, look, have you ever seen animals fight? They'll relinquish the throat. Here, you can have me. And when he does that, he doesn't go for the bite. He's submitted, and humans don't do that. We're the ones that do genocide. You killed my friend, I'm going to wipe out your village. Oh, you wiped out my village, I'm going to take out your nation, So we escalate violence out of control. So there has to be a way for the origins, the original human societies that are developing in ancient times to curb this violence when it escalates out of control. There's got to be a way to have a circuit breaker that when rivalries start to get in and there's scarce resources, there's only so many mates in the community, there's only so much food in the community, there's only so much territory, there's only so much everything, that because we copy each other, eventually we're going to run into scandals. And those scandals, like that cafeteria when everybody's throwing chairs, and I saw that, by the way, many times. Yeah, when everybody's going to chaos, there's got to be a way to bring everybody back together. Otherwise, the human species would have gone extinct a long time ago. So what creates order for that chaos? Well, what René Girard discovers is that what provides order is scapegoating, a lynching of someone in which everyone in the community can target and put all of their frustrations, all of their blames, all of their guilt, they can shift it over to this one individual or a group of individuals. But typically it's an individual at first. And this is almost like a spontaneous event. So imagine we're in like a village here and food's scarce and it's getting really tense. People are having conflicts. I don't know if I trust you anymore. You used to be my friend, but then all of a sudden you start liking everything I like, and I don't even know who I am anymore because you're just copying everything I do, and I'm starting to copy you, and you're like, whoa, you're a little too close for comfort. And we're all getting, there's gossip. I heard this one over here is a troublemaker. I heard this was a troublemaker. All kinds of things start percolating throughout the community, like a disease. This rivalry is like a disease. It's spreading. And all of a sudden they have to say, you know what? You know what the real problem was? This one right here. This person, they are a witch doctor. They're casting spells. That's why we've all been hating on each other. It's that guy. He's got a weird something. Something sticks out about him. Maybe he's too rich. Maybe he has a deformity. Like Hunchback of Notre Dame. Remember what happened to him? Or how about, we were talking about Lion King. Remember Scar? He had a scar on his face. It's always something that you can give a telltale sign if you look back in mythology. There's something about that person, whether it's an ethnicity, too tall, too short, something that makes them an easy target to say, that's the person. Plaid shirt. Hippie plaid shirt. Something triggers that, hey, it's that person. We need to cast them out. So we'll cast them out or we'll kill them. So they kill them, and when they do that, it creates a unity again because everybody imitated, but the imitation didn't lead to rivalry because they all targeted one person. They all said, yeah, let's all agree, we're going to get this guy. They get him out, and all of a sudden they have peace in the land. And that's what you get every time you go to a movie that's really well done, and you have the bad guy gets kicked out, if it's Darth Vader or whatever it is, the bad guy is sent out or killed, and now there's catharsis. There's that aha feeling that the theater audiences can relax. They can settle down and say, I went into Plato's cave. They put the pictures on the screen. And it was struggles, there was rivalry, and they found the bad guy, they expunged him, and I feel really good now. That was satisfying. That's a vestige of the scapegoat mechanism. And you find traces of this in all ancient societies. You find human sacrifice as a ubiquitous, this is virtually everywhere you go, you see human sacrifice at the origins of the earliest examples of human civilization. You'll see traces of sacrifice. So sacrifice is key to understanding what does it mean to be human, right? We created religion, we created rituals, and eventually we created mythology to explain this amazing transcendent feeling we get when we can all unite together against an enemy other and distinguish an all against one dynamic. And so that's where you get a lot of, basically, if you look at mythology, you'll often find that that there's a lot of mischievous behaviors going on with the gods. You look at any mythology, you'll see someone was sleeping with someone's brother or sister or mother or killing this or that. There's all these little scandals going around, and then it'll say like one god fell and his head opened up, and all of a sudden a god showed up, and they created a whole new race of species. There's strange stuff. That is what we call a cover-up story for murder. But it's been told hundreds, generations and generations, that it's mythologized, and now we don't see hardly any evidence of human violence. We just see gods are doing it. So what we do is, we as humans, we don't want to really take full credit for the violence that we're doing. So we just blame it on the gods. It's the gods that did this, right? So you'll see that a lot of times that when you look at the creation stories, especially, look at all creation stories. If you're in Africa, South America, anywhere you go, look at the creation stories of the original cultures that are writing some kind of record down. They're always based on some kind of violence. It's always a god killing somebody or something like that. Or it'll say weird things like they all rushed this deity or this demon to the edge of a cliff, and then lo and behold, it just flew off into the sky. Well, that's just the cover-up. They flew him off the cliff, probably, a long time ago. But that's told as a cultural memory for generations and generations, as a way of explaining the reason why we have religion and cultural traditions and taboos that we must keep in check. Right? Because if you notice, and so you see in ancient religions, you'll see over and over and over again this practice of celebrating, they'll do a big feast, They'll do orgies. They'll do all kinds of things. These are all things that are opportunities for rivalry to get out of hand. Okay, if you don't know who, if you have a feast, right, and you don't know who brought whose food and whatever, but everybody's just pigging out, that's scandal can erupt. Well, whose food? I don't know. I brought that, and someone's eating that, and someone's eating more than they brought, and it gets really, or then you do, your orgies. People are sleeping around with everybody. Sometimes you'll see them wear masks so that they're almost anonymous. Everybody's anonymous. And that allows, so you'll see that over and over again, whenever you have these early rituals or these feast days, they'll do a lot of crazy taboo stuff that they normally don't allow in the normal time, but during the sacred time, they'll allow these kind of crazy taboos to be broken. And then they'll follow it up with a ritual human sacrifice to commemorate the original spontaneous lynching of an other that created that catharsis, that unity that has kept that society together all along. So this concept is where we get the government. That's where we get, the idea of a state. It evolved from this process of trying to curb profane, dirty violence with sacred violence, with orderly violence, violence that is contained and maintained by a certified priestly caste with a certified process called rituals that allows it to be done in a way in which there's not a lot of opportunity for revenge. This is just what we have to do, guys. Every fall season, we have to sacrifice one virgin and one, goat to the god that, those gods we told you about, they always demand blood for some reason. We're just doing what our ancestors did to appease the gods. Really, those are just other cover stories for appease each other's rivalries, to come together again and unite. So you see this all over the place with the modern state. You see it everywhere. I ask people, do you know what is the loudest applause line of any political rally? No matter if it's a Democrat, Libertarian, Republican. Well, I'll give the Libertarians credit. They do a good job when they do speeches.
Thanks, man.
But typically, the best political speeches, right? When you go to watch Trump, Clinton, Obama, McCain, anybody, what's the one that gives the most ecstatic applause line? There's something that happens usually. It's when there's a protester who stands up and starts saying something, and the guy says, "Get him out of here!" And the crowd goes nuts. They go crazy. I saw that. I went to a Trump rally to be a fly on the wall. And I remember, he said all of his applause lines that gets everybody whipped up. But the thing that was deafening was when there was a protester and he said, "Get him out of here!" And they just went deafening. It was like, wow, these guys are in ecstasy. And I was watching their faces. They're all doing the same motions like apes when they go around and they start hitting a rival chimpanzee. They're all pointing and they're going, "Get them and tear them up." But this is the scapegoat mechanism in play. It's just demonstrating to you the things. It's just in a more real, raw, visual format. You can see it. And so that's what you see time and time again, whether it's, Hillary Clinton and all of a sudden someone starts talking about Bill Clinton's victims and they drown her out with cheers. USA, get her out, whatever. And they feel so excited being swept up in this unanimous crowd behavior. But the crowd, you can't listen to the crowd. As Soren Kierkegaard says, the crowd is untruth. The crowd is a lie. So we have to be careful as we are liberty-minded people to consider, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be a part of the crowd? Do we get swept up into contagious imitation, copying each other to the point where we get into rivalry, where we get into conflict over scarce resources that spills out into scandals? And then do we also find catharsis when we expel an enemy other? And don't make a mistake about this. Everyone is guilty of doing this. We do this all the time. So you stayed up really late to watch the election. You're hoping your candidate was going to win, and they don't. And you had a bad time at your job. Your boss was really hard on you. And what do? Maybe you scapegoat the dog. Maybe you do something rude to the dog. You don't take care of it. So we're always finding a way to find a common enemy to expel and transfer our guilt, our shame, or irritation onto a vessel to provide catharsis. And that's what the state functions at. So the point of my discussion here, just to throw out this idea, there's a lot we can go into. We can maybe open up for discussion later on, whatever you guys want to do. But the point of this is you cannot change the issue of government by just better argumentation. We're dealing with a cultural institution in the state, which has been around for thousands of years, which makes up who we are as people. And you can't just change it by making better rational arguments. We have to create an alternative culture of nonviolence, a culture in which we, because human beings are invitational, not facts, not walking brains on sticks that just say, oh, I didn't think about it logically that way. Let me change my whole lifestyle because of that. No, people really don't do that. Logic is almost like the surfboard, and the wave of your whole being is crashing into the shore. You're getting that, the surfboard, you're just going to get it ready for that wave to take you on. And logic really doesn't motivate people. What motivates people is desire. These things that are subconscious oftentimes, the desire to be saved, the desire to be protected from a common enemy. These are things that are culturally ingrained, and you have to look at, if you want to change society, don't worry about making better argumentations. Those will come, and we have those. But we need to create a contagious culture of positive imitation, of nonviolence, of forgiveness, of reciprocal sharing, of reciprocal. Okay, so we don't believe in scapegoating, which what happens all the time. People like Erwin Schick, he recently passed away, and he was in there for tax evasion and different things like that. He passed away at 80-something years old, in prison, like locked up to the bed, right? Didn't even get to spend time with his family, right? And this is inhuman. This is disgusting, right? But we don't want that scapegoat to happen. We don't want to keep lynching people who are greedy. That society says, you know, Erwin, you got to go to a cage because you're greedy. You didn't play by the rules like we're supposed to. So we're going to lynch you, and we're going to cast you out of the camp, torture you by depriving you of being around humans that love you, so that an 80 or 88-year-old man dies chained to a bed. That's disgusting and inhuman. And we have to remember that we can't change that practice by making facts and figures about, did you know that income tax is unconstitutional? That stuff doesn't make sense. That doesn't really change people. It's good. Those are true things. But what changes people is when you show the human element of that. And you show that, wait a second, this person should be tied up to a bed for being, at the worst, greedy. What is greedy? You know, he's a greedy old man. What's he going to do if you let him out of that cage? Start being greedy to everybody, you know, and stealing, hey, I'm going to get that quarter for him, and stealing stuff? I mean, what? There's no harm that he's doing. But the way you change that is by creating positive imitation, being an example. Because humans imitate, we have to create cultures that they want to be attracted to imitate, not being greedy or being sharing or being forgiving or not scapegoating the government for all your problems. So that's the thing, is that we all have that potential to scapegoat. I've seen it. I've seen it with the Libertarian Party. I've seen it with the Liberty Movement. Always look at it's that person's problem or that's that fault. Let's just get them out of there and then we'll be fine. We all have that potential, but we also have the potential to create a nonviolent reciprocal imitation. So I encourage you all to take a look at mimetic theory, see how it applies to the state, see how it opens up another conversation that really strikes at the core of what it means to be human. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you very much. All right. David Gornoski, thanks very much, David. That's it, the chair. Would you like to
Go ahead and introduce your.
all right,
Yeah, that's.
yeah, we'll do that. So we had a couple folks show up in the meeting who are from the community, not necessarily, I don't even know if you guys are libertarians or not, but nonetheless, we welcome you. I know Jonathan Hadley is here. He's a local activist focused on Tampa City Council, if I understand, decriminalizing marijuana. If you're able to walk up, that'd be great. I think you have a friend who's going to come with you. Did you make it yet?
I haven't gotten confirmation, so I'll just
Thank you, Jonathan. give you 5 minutes. Give us the lowdown.
Hi, so my name is Jonathan Happy. I'm a chemical engineering undergrad at USF, but I've always kind of enjoyed politics. I kind of describe myself as a progressive with libertarian sympathies. I read Ayn Rand kind of growing up, was into activism for a little bit, but some various stuff on psychology got me away from that. But aside from that, with a lot of the excitement around the current election, it's got me more involved in, especially at the local level, because that's really where it matters. So the City Council of Tampa is discussing decriminalizing marijuana. What it would do is it would make it for possession under 20 grams would be a civil citation rather than a crime. So last year, there were about 1,900 arrests that fit this category, which besides being punishable currently by a year in prison or a fine for up to $1,000, there's also the court fees, jailing these people. I mean, we're spending tens of thousands of dollars for an amount of marijuana that's about 3/4 amounts for less than $200 on the ship. So we're spending tens of thousands of dollars in taxpayer money to brutalize people and hurt them. It's going to make them worse off than they were before. It's utterly insane. So fortunately, the City Council is looking at changing this. And with the national mood being how it is, it's not even a very politically difficult decision for them to make. We just need to make sure that they know the citizens of Tampa are paying attention to how they vote. Because if there's anything that will get them to act, it's in fear of losing their job. So what we currently know is that Charlie Miranda is one of the members on the City Council member who's skeptical. And he's said that on the Tampa Bay Times. He's quoted as saying that. Bob Buckhorn had been opposed to the medical marijuana, but his stance on this issue, he hasn't currently voiced it. So kind of just in really tough, and obviously you're all going to vote.
Did I hear you right? He was against for medical marijuana?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like this, a doctor.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was kind of surprised to read that because he's like a Democrat and they're supposed to be on the right side of that. But as you know, the two parties don't represent most.
Well, we hope to have you back next month.
So obviously, all of them get a vote on this. So even if you are a resident of the city of Tampa proper, especially, but really anyone in Hillsborough can voice, especially to the at-large. Call or email, all their stuff is listed. I don't know I think it's cityoftampa.org, but I mean, Google searching will find it. But especially Charlie Miranda, I didn't check what district he is. But February 18th is going to be the City Hall meeting where they're opening this discussion, where they're supposed to be making the initial proposal. And if they accept the proposal, then it goes to, I believe, 2 public hearings. So getting them a lot of noise before the proposal and making sure that there's good people at both public hearings will hopefully make this a reality. But can't repeat and stuff, ruining people's lives over a plan. We're the only organized group I'm aware of specifically for this is actually a Facebook event that me and some of the other students at USF we discuss politics on a Facebook page. So I'm kind of with the Polls for Bernie group. I talk to a lot of the Gal guys. So we're coalition building on this guy on this.
Good.
So
what's the Facebook group?
yes, Tampa for marijuana citations over incarceration, and it should be a public event. It should just come up in a search. So
Yeah, Tampa supports marijuana citation.
Tampa for marijuana citations over incarceration.
Oh, there's 2 of them?
Maybe.
No, this one I got from, well, I got
It
the,
help you quite a bit.
I got the invite from you though.
Oh, am I saying it wrong? Yep, that's it. Tampa supports marijuana citation over. That's
It just stops at citation. I can't get it because of phones and stuff.
okay. Yeah, it's a citation over. So
Kevin, you're signed up for it already. So are you, Patrick.
We'll be there.
Yeah,
So-
we'll be there.
spread it around. Hopefully, it's something that there's a lot of ideological arguments to have about what the role of government should be or how it should do, but there's certain things that everyone can agree on.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
You're active in politics. You're on campus, are you?
yes.
Can you give us a feel for the non-smoking thing going on for cigarettes on campus?
Oh, yeah.
And also,
I saw that
what
sign.
direction is the political herd running for the Bulls at USF? Is there, do you have any concerns?
There's a lot of puns there. There's a lot of puns there.
A lot of puns.
The herd, where's the herd going? You know, bulls, herd.
Gotcha. No, there's it's a very interesting group. Definitely the younger conservatives are just better described as like libertarians, and the GOP excludes them completely.
How do they plan on even remotely police?
For what?
Seeing people smoking.
But it'd be a citation. It'd be like a finable offense for possession under 20. Now, active use.
I think he's
in-
talking
no,
about
I'm talking about
cigarettes.
cigarettes.
on
Oh,
campus.
sorry.
That's all right. We're all over the place a little bit.
I think they just.
They're gonna give you a stern warning.
Yeah, that's probably about what it like boils down to. I mean, it's something I always tell people. It's like laws are words on paper until someone enforces it.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're solid. They have you back.
If it's happened, if they decide to go ahead and decriminalize marijuana, what happens with the sheriff's department?
For the county, I believe it would be able to apply to them as well because the county doesn't have speaking a little bit off the cuff, I do work in the US, so I have a little bit of understanding that I think as far as the boundaries go, they have like a mutual aid agreement. But if it's legal for the city and they're not enforcing it there, I would find it strange to see them like picking a fight over it. And a very key thing is the chief of police. His name is Stately. He's actually supportive of this.
Ward? Is it Ward?
Yeah,
Chief Ward?
Edward, I think.
I think Ward is his last name, W-A-R-D.
But no, so he's supportive of this, so that should help quite a bit in this actually being feasible.
I'll absolutely be there, by the way. And this is more of a comment or a critique than a question.
Mhm.
Before when you talked, you actually had the names of people that you wanted people to contact and stuff like that.
Right.
Like the people of the city council.
Charlie Miranda.
Right.
Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah.
You probably would get more people to contact them if you put that information like right in the top of that thing. I didn't know that even reading it. I didn't know that till you just said it, which I'll do. But
I was trying to get a bit more of an action plan. That was more of a, hey, everyone who cares about this, get everyone in the same place so we can tell everyone kind of the game plan.
well, that's because the 18th is there though, right?
Yes. That's what I knew at the time I made the event.
Oh, no worries, brother. No, cool. I'm glad you're doing it. Thank you, by the way. You sent it to me via Facebook. I got it. It's like great.
As far as reaching out to other people that support this, there's another organization in town that's not anything to do with politics that would really support this and give you a lot of clout, and that's SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Professionals. They have a group of about 1,500 people here in Tampa, which are all the HR directors that lose our employees. It's Society of Human Resources, so it's SHRM in Tampa. But we have a whole group of us that fight on radio shows because when you take my employee with no notice and throw him in jail, we're the ones who are dealing with the temporary labor, trying to get that person a job afterwards, dealing with the child support afterwards, and we think it's a big pain in the butt. Forget all the tax dollars. We did a lot of damage to all the corporate business owners and people who were trying to employ those people as well. And so if you reach out somehow to those people, you're also, just so pointing out the obvious, but the meeting's like 8 o'clock on a Thursday, right? So these people are people who are working on those issues Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So they have the ability to sit in that meeting.
Any closing comments?
No, that's basically it. I'm probably going to see you guys again for whatever the next project is that works.
Yeah, awesome. Next on the list. Just before I jump to Alex, so you're here and you get some later.
Wasn't here to speak about anything, but if you want to let me talk, I will.
Yeah,
Stop.
absolutely.
Is there a person, Vela in the room?
I'm Chris.
Chris, you should stand up in front for what you just speak about Stop TBX, which is I call it a boondoggle toll road for Tampa, and you guys can form your own opinions. So with Chris Vela, who I think is from Stop TBX, is that the website? local organization?
Yes,
Why don't you
my name is,
Thank you very much.
my name is Chris Vella, and I'm with Sunshine Citizens, Inc. We're actually a 501c4. We formed a group back in, I guess, in June in response to the highway tolling project, and I also dealing with the highway expansion. So we are very grateful and honored to be here today to kind of explain the subject. Very complex. Oh, thank you. It's actually a very complex subject, so I'm going to be quick. I know you guys have other things on the agenda, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass around a notepad and a pen. If you feel like leaving your contact information on there, a name and an email will do, that would be wonderful. If not, we actually have a Facebook page called Sunshine Citizens, and then we also have our Gmail account, which is stoptbx.com, or at gmail.com, excuse me. So I'm going to pass this around here. I'm assuming everybody's got pens, okay? All right, part of my involvement in the Sunshine Citizens is because I actually live in Ybor City. It's really hard to tell from this map. You can see kind of like a wide formation. This is the downtown interchange. So part of what FDOT would like to do is kind of take this portion along the rest of the portion that includes like I-275 going to Pinellas County, and also I-275 going north to Barrett's Avenue, and also I-4 going to 50th Street. What they want to do is they want to toll the whole county. Ultimately, what FDOT would like to do is toll the entire state of Florida. One of the reasons that I got really motivated behind all this is because my house is actually located right here. So one of the big issues on a lot of people who own property near highways or near really busy intersections is eminent domain. FDOT, with this project, has always gone into presentations and said, we're going to take your land, we'll offer a fair market price. A lot of these plans are not concrete, they're very conceptual. I'm going to go ahead and actually pass this around so you guys can just kind of take a look at how crazy that thing looks. So this is kind of the material they use for the public process. It's very, very confusing. The tolling portion itself, and I'm going to try to pace myself here because there's a lot of information. What FDOT wants to do is they have what's called a variable toll lane where it deals with congestion. So,
If you think it's useful, they just get mailed to me.
oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, you guys might be getting mailed these as well. The way how this works is usually there might be anywhere from 2 to 4 toll lanes on the highway. As traffic builds up, you can use these toll lanes, but the toll actually goes up. So it can go anywhere from maybe 50 to 75 cents per mile to $2 per mile. Just to give you that figure, for me, going to my house to this area here would be $14 one way and $2 per mile. The problem with the toll lanes is that everybody kind of jumps into the toll lanes. So it's not exclusive for just like mass transit. So if you, for example, if you just wanted to run buses on there, which would make sense, and have that as a dedicated bus lane to move a lot of people on the highway, it doesn't work that way. Anybody can go on there. If there's an accident that occurs on a toll lane, it basically stops everybody else. Because as you know, if there's an accident on the highway, it causes other accidents or it just slows down traffic. So it becomes useless. I'm going to pass around this information here, excuse me, that kind of talks a little bit about the percentage of what the toll lanes use or provide. So they only provide a level of 14%. This is actually from the state FDOT. So what's really important about this information is the fact that this whole project, including with the first phase and the later phase, is a $9 billion project. Okay, so we're paying $9 billion just to have a 14% increase on our highways. And what's really interesting about that is FDOT would like to move this traffic quickly. I think it's over the speeds of 55, 60. It all depends where you're at 90% of the time. But what we're finding out with the I-95 in Miami and other places, that usually that's only about 50%, 48 to 50% of the time. So they're not even meeting getting enough cars through there for its toll revenue to pay off these projects. You might ask, well, how does a $9 billion project get paid when we obviously have a lot of deficiencies in our state budget? Well, what happens is we get a lot of offshore money that comes into play. So what happened in I-4, Olsen I-4, is that there was a construction company called Skanska. You might have heard of that. What they normally do is they kind of partner up with other companies that are financial number crunchers and also operate other construction companies. So they come up to this big concessionary. The concessionary basically gets goes out with unsolicited bids. All FDOT projects, by the way, are unsolicited bids. So anybody can go up there and say, okay, I want to build a highway for you, if they know that something's going to come up, which is really scary. Okay, I'll wrap up very quickly. So,
That's good stuff.
Chair says, go
The
ahead.
chair says, keep going,
Okay.
bro, keep talking.
thank you, appreciate it. So what happens is a lot of the money comes offshore. So there's a lot of investments that come. For Ultimate I-4, for example, there was no money, domestic money. All of that investment money came for that project exclusively. Now the state usually puts up maybe around 40 to 50% on their half. Again, part of this is based on 2014 numbers. So when I'm talking about this, the remaining amount of this project here is like $6 billion. We're only talking $6 billion in 2014. The type of arrangements that happen with these highways in terms of paying them off sometimes go up to 50 years. So when you add all the interest to that, which is a couple $1 billion, it really adds up. And sometimes, like I was saying, the total performance doesn't really meet the criteria. So then you end up being more in a hole. All of us take a hit. We had a guy in our group, our vice president, crunched the numbers, and we calculated it's about $12,000 per house.
Nice.
Damn.
Yeah. So part of our group, what we'd like to do is to kind of say, hey, FDOT, we want to hold you accountable. So we actually go to these sessions that are held by the MPO, and that's called the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Hillsborough County has to have this board so they can improve stages and funding for this project. So part of the reason why I'm asking some information, so that way I can inform you guys when these meetings come up. There will be a meeting next month, like on the first week, and our Facebook page, we constantly populate that, letting everybody know. The big thing you can do is kind of share that information. And what's great about the MPO is I know some people might live out here and going downtown is such a hassle. MPO actually allows you to comment online. So the more comments we can get online, that actually motivates you to say, hey, maybe we really need to think about this. The other thing is FDOT has come around and said, hey, this is it. There's no other plan. There's no alternative. Whether you like rail or not, you're going to have it. So we feel, no, that's not the case. We have a say because our tax dollars are being used on it. I personally, and some members of the group would like to have transit alternatives. We think it's going to take a combination of highway, the existing infrastructure, but it's also might take rail, buses, circulators, trolleys, and maybe trying to look at how we can utilize the transportation that we're building in the airport and having that run over to downtown. Again, it's kind of serving that whole entire area of the population in terms of economics, because in the area of Newport, we have a very, very low income area. And so for anybody to afford to pay that amount of money to use the highway to get where you need to go, it's just not fair. So we just need to kind of work on infrastructure and work it better and have those alternatives. And on a closing note, I just want to add that in this documents here, we actually had some projections done 20 years ago. In 2012, FDOT said that we don't need the extra lanes. So you could see on the right side of that column, there's like 0 lanes. And then one more thing in here is this document talks about access. So what happens is a lot of that traffic on the expressway, it primarily dumps all the traffic to West Shore. So all the businesses out here kind of lose out. We don't get any extra traffic coming from other counties. It just gets dumped at the airport, and then it picks up and goes over the bridge. So there's no exit dumps in key points where it would be profitable for business owners or development. You guys might know what's going on with State Road 54. It's crazy. FDOT wants to put a plan over there, but they never, went to the chambers of Pasco and said, hey, this is what we want to do. The citizens have no idea if there was an alternative plan or not. So part of taking a stance against FDOT on this is saying, hey, State of Florida, we need to hold you accountable. This is a lot of taxpayer money, and you're not offering any alternative solutions. You're offering a very dangerous solution of toll lanes. Toll lanes are clearly not working in Miami, and it will not work in Orlando. But one quick note with Orlando, the ultimate I-4. You guys probably know if you're on I-4, they're constantly working on the highway. What's really interesting about that is they kind of, FDOT rushes in this project. So what they did is they went to the suburbia area in Ultimate Springs. They bought out 41 homes, for just retention ponds. Yes, they did pay out those people, but the fact is a lot of people, bought the home, they want to live there. They wanted to enjoy the community, so they moved everybody out, only to realize, hey, you know what, we don't need this retention pond anymore. So that cost us $13.5 million for that mistake.
Nice.
And a lot of that stuff happens everywhere throughout the whole country. So it's very important that just please go on our Facebook page, check out our website. I'll be more than happy to do a full presentation. We have like graphics that we can put on the screen and all that. I'm the president, but I'm more of the background guy. We have some excellent speakers out there. We have some people that are so keen on economic stuff that they can just fire it up. So, but again, thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions.
Any questions?
And then on another note, you mentioned City Council. City Council, CRA also has these meetings, and it's very important if you're in the city limits to go and just send a letter to City Council and say, hey, we don't want this in Tampa. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Alex, you can speak.
Yeah, Alex, good thing Jeff is still here. Alex is leader of the Libertarian PAC of Florida, and has done a lot of things. He almost doesn't require introduction. But
Infamous or whatever. First off, the first thing I wanted to say is I think that the choice of speakers that you had was very good. First off, you started with something that was very kind of high-minded and philosophical based, but actually going to the root of a problem, which is a good thing to be able to do. But then you had two people talking about local issues that you can go to and affect right away. So that combination of things is actually a pretty good balance. And, you should have kudos for something like that. Two things that I wanted to patch some of the background. Two things though. One is on February 20th, the PAC is going to be having a fundraiser up in Newport or in Spring Hill. We're bringing Jordan Page down.
all right, Jordan Page.
We got a PA system we're actually buying. We'll have it all in the backyard. We got a nice fire pit back there. So if you guys want to come, you can. Suggested donation is $20. So if you want to make a donation, great. We'll sure we'll do shit for more money after that. Second thing is that the Florida Libertarian PAC has come out in support of the rights of adult cannabis. Is that we made an official endorsement because we can endorse candidates and we can also endorse ballot initiatives. I thought it was a good idea to endorse a ballot initiative in the 2016 election cycle, just considering it would give us the ability to go around the entire state. We can't do with federal we can't deal with federal candidates. We only deal with state. We only deal with local. No statewide stuff. So I thought this was a good idea. I think it's the right initiative. One of the things that we did as the PAC is that we are offering these friends and family kits. What it is you get an activist clipboard, is what we call it. And what the clipboard has on it is 25 petitions. So yeah, show the work. Here it is. There's the back. There's the front. What we did is we took old Wiley campaign yard signs along with anybody else that we had yard signs for, and we cut them all up, put the talking points on one side, and put a little thing on the back right here. And if you either send me an email or if you want to take one of these tonight, I will give you one of these clipboards with this information. There's also a guilt sheet in here that talks about how it starts with you, and if you're going to take this from me, then you should get back to me in 14 days. A little donation form because the stuff ain't cheap. Also some business cards and some stickers because everybody likes swag. And a self-addressed stamped envelope back to me. So what we're asking people to do is that if you support the legalization of cannabis, we have a year and a half with this petition to get 1 million signatures. But before we get any of those things, we got to get 50,000 signatures basically, because we have to have enough signatures to trigger Supreme Court review.
How many do we have to?
I think they're probably like maybe 10,000 right now, so not a lot. And this is a total grassroots effort. Look, if you look at what happened with Morgan had millions of dollars to get the medical one through, right? We're not going to have millions of dollars. I'm going to tell you that right now. Is that we're one organization that's supporting it. There's a larger organization that started this, but we're deciding that we're going to get involved with it as well. So I think that the one thing is that you want to make sure that you can, I think that we're probably the one party that can need to pull this thing off or not. So what I'm doing is I'm making these kits up, and if you ask me for one, I'll give you one of these kits. Get the 25 signed and just send it back to me. If that's all you did, that was great. Now you still got the clipboard, so you can go on the website and you can actually print more up, put them on the clipboard, send another 25 back to me. We're going to need, like I said, 50,000 to be able to get there. But if anybody wants one of these from me, I got them with me. And if you forget about it, or if you're online right now, if you go to FloridaLibertarianPAC.com You can see there where it says, you know, things that you support. Hey, I want to see the legalization of cannabis. You click there, all the links and everything is there. Also, for you guys, if you're out as an affiliate, going out and being active, and you're looking to increase membership, one of the things that you can do with these is that you can go ahead and get the 25 petitions, take the names and addresses of the people that you got in contact with that were supportive of this issue, because that means that there's at least one commonality between you and those people, and invite them to a meeting. Is that you can utilize this while serving, like basically killing two birds with one stone. Very easy to do. But again, I appreciate you guys giving me a couple minutes to speak. I wasn't on the docket or anything like that. And I was actually going to come down because I was want to hear what you had to say, actually. I was very interested. I have tons of questions for you, but we'll have to deal with that at a later time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. We got a local party member. Actually, yeah, you are a party member, right? Come on.
Not technically.
No, you know, you're 18 yet, are you?
No.
All right, we got Brendan who's going to speak for a moment. Thanks, Brendan.
I don't need to say anything big. I don't have any big speech or anything. I just wanted to have some notes on the FDMP and what they've done to me personally and my family. They're consistently harassing me. They've taken stuff from me, $700 items. They've threatened to tase me before. They've done numerous things that I think are despicable and shouldn't be expected of any government agency at all. It's supposed to be working for us. And I just thought this whole other thing was the nail in the coffin.
Just I thought this.
Yeah. So, full translation is that and the higher patrol.
All right. Boo boo for FDOT, huh?
Yeah.
Come down.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brendan.
Sorry, it was Hamilton.
That's fine.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break, guys, because we were kind of running. And we'll get into our standard business meeting agenda, which will be quick. And take a 5-minute break. And come on right back. All right.
Yeah, so
We'll let it run today.
Well, just hit stop.
Yeah, I'm going to hit stop on the screen. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.